The Military Aviation Museum at Joint Base Lewis McChord was hosting a special event for retired pilots, a gathering where old warriors could share stories and reconnect with their past. The hangar was filled with restored aircraft from different eras, each one representing a piece of military history. Among the crowd wandered an old man, maybe 80 years old, wearing a simple windbreaker and baseball cap, studying each aircraft with intense focus. Captain Derek Walsh, a cocky F-35 pilot with 3 deployment tours, noticed the old man lingering near a restored Vietnam-era Huey helicopter. Walsh was there with several junior officers, holding court about modern aviation superiority. If you're wondering where this story goes, hit that like button and comment if you think some call signs carry legendary weight. "Hey, Pops," Walsh called out, his tone friendly but condescending. "You admiring the antiques? These old birds are museum pieces now. Technology has come a long way since then." The old man turned slowly, his weathered face showing no offense. "They have indeed. But these birds saved a lot of lives in their day." Walsh, emboldened by his audience, decided to engage further. "Did you serve? Maybe you flew in one of these back in the day." The old man nodded. "I spent some time in helicopters, yes, a long time ago." Walsh grinned. "What was your call sign? Back when you were flying, assuming pilots even used call signs then." The old man's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. "They called me Hammer 6. The effect was instant and profound." Rear Admiral Thomas Richardson, who'd been examining aircraft nearby, spun around so fast he nearly knocked over a display. His face went pale, then flushed with emotion. Several older veterans in the hangar stopped mid-conversation, their heads turning toward the old man. Now, before we continue, if this story has you captivated, please subscribe and turn on notifications. What happens next is legendary. Hammer 6 wasn't just a call sign. It was legend carved into military aviation history. Colonel James "Hammer" Harrison had been one of the most decorated helicopter pilots in Vietnam War history. He'd flown over 1,200 combat missions, most of the rescue operations under heavy fire. He'd earned 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 5 Silver Stars, and the Medal of Honor for a mission where he'd repeatedly flown into a hot LZ to extract surrounded Marines, making 11 trips under constant enemy fire until every last Marine was out. Admiral Richardson walked quickly toward them, his military bearing evident despite civilian clothes. "Colonel Harrison?" "Sir, is that really you?" The old man smiled warmly. "Admiral Richardson. I didn't expect to see you here. How have you been, Tom?" Walsh's confidence evaporated as he realized his mistake. The Admiral turned to him, his expression serious. "Captain, do you know who you're speaking to? This is Colonel James Harrison. Hammer 6. He's the pilot who saved my father's life in 1969. He's the reason I exist." The old man waved his hand dismissively. "Tom, that was a long time ago. Your father was a good Marine, just doing my job." But the Admiral wasn't letting it go. He addressed the gathering crowd. "Captain Walsh here asked about call signs. Let me tell you about Hammer 6. In April 1969, a Marine reconnaissance unit was surrounded near Khe Sanh. They had wounded, were low on ammunition, and couldn't hold out. Every helicopter that tried to reach them was driven back by enemy fire." Richardson's voice grew emotional. "Colonel Harrison flew in anyway. He took rounds through his rotor, his windshield, his fuselage. He landed, loaded wounded Marines, including my father, and took off through a wall of tracers. Then he went back, again and again, 11 trips. The enemy knew he was coming and concentrated everything they had on his LZ. But he kept coming back until every single Marine was extracted. 43 men came home because of him." Walsh stood frozen, his earlier arrogance completely gone. "Sir, I apologize." "I had no idea. The way I spoke to you." Harrison raised his hand. "Captain, you spoke to an old man at a museum. You had no way of knowing. But let me share something about those antiques you mentioned." He walked to the Huey, running his hand along its olive-drab fuselage. This helicopter, this museum piece, was designed in the 1950s. No computers, no advanced avionics, no fly-by-wire systems. Just hydraulics, mechanical controls, and a pilot's skill. But you know what? It flew into places your F-35 never could. It landed in jungles under fire, on mountainsides in the rain, in clearings barely bigger than its rotor disc. And it brought people home. A crowd had gathered now, veterans and active duty personnel alike. Harrison continued, "I'm not diminishing modern technology. Your F-35 is an incredible machine that can do things we couldn't dream of. But don't confuse technological advancement with combat effectiveness. That old Huey accomplished its mission every single time because the pilots flying it were willing to go where the mission demanded, regardless of the risk." Walsh found his voice. "Sir, they teach about your Medal of Honor mission at flight school, but they never mentioned your call sign. Why Hammer 6? Harrison smiled. "I was the commander of a helicopter unit, hence the 6th designation. The hammer came from my Marines. They said I hit the enemy like a hammer, again and again, never stopping until they were safe." The name stuck. Admiral Richardson added, "Colonel Harrison flew more combat rescue missions than any other pilot in the war. His unit had a perfect record. They never left anyone behind. Every mission he flew, no matter how dangerous, he brought his crew home and brought our people out." A young lieutenant in the crowd asked, "Sir, what was it like flying into hot LG knowing you might not make it out?" Harrison's expression grew distant. "Terrifying. Every single time. I lost crew members. I lost birds. I saw things no one should see. But when you hear Marines on the radio, wounded and surrounded, begging for extraction, you don't think about the risk. You think about getting them out. Fear doesn't disappear. You just decide that their lives matter more than your fear." He turned to Walsh. "Captain, you asked if we used call signs back then. We did. But they weren't just nicknames. They were identities forged in combat. Every pilot I knew earned their call sign through actions, through missions, through survival. When you hear someone's call sign from that era, you're hearing a summary of their combat experience compressed into a word or two." Walsh straightened to attention. "Sir, would you be willing to speak at my squadron? Share your experiences with my pilots? We could learn a tremendous amount from you." Harrison considered. "I don't do many public speeches anymore, Captain. But I'll tell you what. If you and your pilots want to sit down informally, ask questions, listen to an old helicopter pilot's stories, I'm happy to share. No rank, no ceremony. Just pilots talking about flying." Admiral Richardson interjected. "Colonel, I'm organizing a memorial service next month at Arlington for Vietnam helicopter crews. Would you consider speaking? Many families never got to thank the pilots who brought their loved ones home. You could represent all of them." Harrison's eyes grew moist. "For them, Tom. Always for them." Over the next hour, Harrison held court in that hangar, surrounded by pilots from multiple generations. He spoke of flying in impossible weather, of finding LG in triple canopy jungle, of making decisions in seconds that determined who lived and died. He shared technical knowledge about flying under fire, about reading terrain, about trusting your crew and your instincts when instruments failed. As the event concluded, Walsh approached Harrison one final time. "Sir, I learned something today. I learned that the most capable pilots aren't always flying the newest aircraft. I learned that call signs carry history. And I learned that I should show respect before making assumptions." Harrison smiled and extended his hand. "That's all any old pilot could hope to teach, Captain. Now go fly that incredible machine of yours and remember that technology is just a tool. The pilot makes the difference." This story reminds us that call signs carry histories we can't imagine, that the most accomplished warriors often present themselves humbly, and that technological advancement doesn't diminish past achievements. It reminds us that combat forges identities that transcend generations, and that respect should be given to those who served before modern conveniences existed. If this touched your heart, please share it. Drop a comment about a veteran whose call sign tells a story. Let's honor those who flew into danger when others flew away. Thank you for watching. And remember, the old pilot at the museum might have saved more lives than you can imagine.